Well, hey everybody, John Rethlin here, and this is every WWE Money in the Bank cash-in ranked from worst to best. As a companion piece to every WWE Money in the Bank ladder match ranked from worst to best, link is up here if you have not checked that out. And basically I figured that this video and the previous video would be a nice way to tide you guys over until the Money in the Bank review, which if it's a good show, I will be praising and happy, but if it's a bad show, expect a full-on scathing rant. But before that, let's look at every one of the 21 briefcase holders and see which ones were the worst. And, well, let's just start off with this because we're going to go to the best. But, we got to start with the shit. Number 21, Damien Sandow, 2013. Look, I love that Sandow won it, and it was cool that he had a feud with Cody. And, yes, he was losing, some matches that maybe he shouldn't have been, Sandow, that is. But, okay, I thought the cash-in was fine. He cashed in on Cena and injured Cena, beat up his arm and everything. And then he lost. And then Sandow was done. Sandow was fucking done. They fucking buried him. Oh my god, they buried him. He somehow got over as Mizdow, and then they buried him again. Yes, this is the worst cash-in of all time. I mean, I know that there are others that you could argue that maybe were worse. Had Sandow won, this would have been ranked about middle, because it's something that should have launched Sandow, at least temporarily. He may have never been a main eventer for very long, but no, this fucking killed him, and it is the worst cash-in of all time. And what's almost as bad is number 20, Baron Corbin, 2017. He held the briefcase for, a couple months, tried to cash in on Jinder, Cena distracted him, and Jinder Mahal, of all people, beat Corbin. That pretty much killed Corbin as a main eventer, even though they're still trying to push him a couple years later. Dear God, no wonder Raw's ratings are in the shitter. Number 19, John Cena, 2012. John Cena did not need to be the Money in the Bank winner, because he was always going to be in the main event. And he could have just faced CM Punk at any point. But nope, they wasted the Money in the Bank briefcase in 2012, at least on the Raw side. He announced his intentions to cash in. He lost. And there we go. It was by DQ and everything. Well, he failed to cash in successfully. His Big Show interfered, and then Rock came out, and then CM Punk turned heel. Hooray! At least there was that. But then Cena kept getting shots at CM Punk. That's kind of gross. But he kept getting title shots at CM Punk. It nullified the briefcase. It was the first time where they gave the briefcase really to the wrong person. And it was just, you could argue about Jack Swagger in 2010, but at least that was a successful cash-in, and I'll touch on that in a bit. But this was Cena. It was the first ever unsuccessful cash-in, so at least it was Cena. But of course, Cena has to be first in everything, even the bad stuff. Yeah, this just wasn't very good. Number 18, Braun Strowman, last year. He won the briefcase. It was pretty cool. That was fine. And then he could have cashed in SummerSlam 2018. Nope, they didn't want to have that happen. That would have made too much sense. And then he hands his briefcase to officially cash in at Hell in a Cell 2018. And how does that end? It ends in a no contest. A Hell in a Cell match ends in a no goddamn contest. Now, that was one of the times they could have salvaged Braun, and then a couple months later, a Crown Jewel, and they didn't do any of that. It completely destroyed the Money in the Bank briefcase concept. It made me question if they should get rid of the damn thing, at least for the men. But yeah, this was a really bad... I almost ranked this one at the bottom, but I still think that it wasn't quite as bad as Sandow's, because at least with Braun, I kind of wondered if they weren't going to have him unsuccessfully cash it in. I just didn't think they were going to do this bad. So I almost ranked this one the worst, but nope, Sandow's was worst. Number 17, Sheamus in 2015. Sheamus just wasn't the main eventer that they wanted him to be. He's a really good athlete, a very good worker. He worked great with Cesaro, and he did good in tag teams, and even did good as a singles guy. But he just wasn't the main eventer that they need him to be. And he was the briefcase holder, and then Roman Reigns wins the finals in the tournament, beating Dean Ambrose, holds the title for a bit. Sheamus comes out during the celebration, bro kick, and cashes in, beats him. Okay, cool, whatever. It was shocking, but it was not very good. It just wasn't. And he only held it for a few weeks. The cash-in was fine, but nobody bought Sheamus as a champion. He was just a placeholder for Reigns to win it back. Yeah, okay, that's not a great way to use the briefcase. Number 16, Jack Swagger, 2010. Jack Swagger was never a main event guy. Great athlete, incredible athlete. Was doing great in Bellator. He was a great athlete in WWE. Promos maybe weren't necessarily his thing. Sure, scripting him probably wasn't all that great either, but this guy just wasn't what they wanted him to be. Now him, yeah, okay, maybe it took him forever. It took him like forever and a day. That's never to unhook the briefcase at Mania 26, and they edited it out ever since. But because if you saw the live pay-per-view, it took him forever. Now look, it's nerve-wracking. I mean, he's in front of so many goddamn people, and maybe he needed to be a step higher. Maybe he was nervous. Okay, that's fine. The cash-in was really goddamn cool. The only reason that I ranked it this low is because he just wasn't believable. Now, when he cashed in on Jericho and won it, that was cool, but just no one believed it. The cash-in was shocking. That was fine. But everything else afterwards just wasn't all that good. I mean, I'm factoring cash-in and also the fallout and stuff like that. It just wasn't... After the initial shock of him cashing in so soon, only a couple days, really everything fell apart. Because no one believed him as world champion. Number 15, Alberto Del Rio, 2011. He tried to cash in a Money in the Bank 2011. That didn't work. He cashed in after Kevin Nash, of all people, powerbombed CM Punk. Kevin Nash managed to sneak up on somebody. A, without tearing his quads, and B, the fact that Kevin Nash moves about as well as I do when trying to run. And I'm not almost 7 feet with bad knees and bad quads. I'm just 5'9.5" with bad knees. But anyway... Nash ends up planting CM Punk. Del Rio comes down, cashes in on Punk. The problem is sure he cashed in. People were like, oh great, okay, here's Del Rio, and they made him champion. And then he lost it in a month, and then won it back a few weeks later, and then held it for a month and a half. His momentum was just so stop-start that even him as the briefcase holder, no one believed him as a main eventer. They just didn't. I mean, he won the biggest Royal Rumble at the time, 40 men. And in fact, it is the biggest Royal Rumble of all time, because guess what? The Saudi Arabia one doesn't fucking count. But yeah, Del Rio's cash-in was kind of meh. And then we go to number 14, Kane in 2010. Shortest time as a briefcase holder. Saves Rey Mysterio, and then comes back out with the briefcase. Okay, whatever. I don't know why they did that. He should have just brought the briefcase down with him, but fought off everybody and then said, oh wait, here's Rey, I'm cashing in. It was just really badly done, that point, but him cashing in, shockingly so quickly, that was fine. Him being world champion, that was cool. I liked seeing Kane get a lengthy run as champion. It was a bit weird how they did it, but the fact he cashed in so soon, even if maybe it wasn't the best, I had to rank it a little bit higher than others. Number 13, Randy Orton, 2013. Yeah, it was very deflating to see Daniel Bryan's WWE title run end so soon, but that was the whole point. I mean, I don't think their intention was ever to push him into the main event. Like, as far as, like, at WrestleMania 30, I think Vince did it with gritted teeth, kicking and screaming and said, okay, you want Bryan in the main event? I'm taking Undertaker's streak. I guarantee you that's what he did, because I believe Vince is that vengeful, Vinceful, there we go. Let's come up with that word. Yeah, though Orton cashing in was fine. It was cool. Triple H, turning on Daniel Bryan, gross. And then Orton cashing in. That was fine. It gave Orton a reason to be a full-on dick heel. Sure, the fallout was a little messy afterwards, but the cash in was pretty cool because it was pretty deflating. Number 12, RVD 2006. He announced his intentions to cash in early at, One Night Stand 2006. At the Hammerstein Ballroom, and oh boy, did the crowd eat Cena alive. And it was a successful cash-in. It was a mess. Edge spearing Cena with, a bike helmet on. Crowd chain, thank you, Edge, after basically saying, fuck you, Edge, about an hour before. But hey, RVD cashed in successfully, and the crowd erupted. The crowd would have burned that freaking place to the ground if John Cena had won. They would have burned everything to the ground. They would have burned the things, or, the city block outside of it. And they would have. The fans would have actually legit rioted. I don't believe often fans saying if this person wins, we riot, or if this person loses, we riot. I believe those fans would have. But yeah, RVD cashing in, that was pretty awesome. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of RVD as a champion, hey, it was pretty cool to see him win that. Number 11, Carmella. She won in 2017, cashed in 2018, cashed in 2018. That is right after Mania, right after Charlotte had beaten Asuka. And okay, I believe the Iconics attacked Charlotte, if I remember right. And then Carmella came down and cashed in. Now, the cash in was pretty cool. Okay, cool. You got it out of the way. Unfortunately, Carmella's title reign was shit. Complete shit. But the cash-in was pretty nice. And it was really cool that the first ever women's Money in the Bank briefcase holder cashed in such a shocking way. Even though I don't think anybody was really shocked, or people, in retrospect, people could say back, look back on, it was what it was. It's like, it wasn't all that shocking. To me, I was like, they actually pulled the trigger on and didn't have her fail. That was nice, even if I hated her title reign. So yeah, pretty shocking win. And then we go number 10, Alexa, who had the shortest time for a female Money in the Bank, briefcase holder, won it and then cashed in during the Nia Jax Ronda Rousey match. And the reason I'm ranking this one a little bit higher than Carmella is because it was either Ronda beats Nia Jax and wins the title already, or you have a cash in. Even if I didn't agree with Alexa being the champion, you had a cash in. She screwed over Nia and screwed over Ronda. And that pretty much ended the feud with Nia, even though they continued it into Extreme Rules for some reason, but then gave Ronda a reason to go after Alexa, and then eventually take the title from her by just tossing her around. So yeah, this was a pretty cool cash-in. Really, it was shocking, because I didn't think they would ever cash in so soon. I thought eventually maybe on Raw or something like that, but I didn't think the same damn night. So you follow up, Carmella holding it for almost 300 days, or, close to it, with Alexa holding it for like an hour. The shortest time. Which makes sense given the fact that Alexa is basically a midget. I know you're not supposed to call them midgets, but sorry, she's short. We then get to number 9, Edge in 2007, because he won it from Mr. Kennedy, who needed shoulder surgery, but then didn't need shoulder surgery. So it turns out he actually could have held this, cashed in on Undertaker, held the title for a bit, and then probably promptly been suspended due to the whole thing of the drug steroid bust thing from this clinic after the Benoit murders and all that. And Kennedy wasn't the only one, but he was one of the most prominent people. And oh boy, it cost him his run. His run was over. But yeah, he ended up eventually returning. Kennedy did, but Edge won it and then cashed in on Undertaker the next night. And this is when SmackDown, I believe, was taped, so it was a couple days later, but Edge cashed in on Undertaker. Undertaker suffered, I believe, a bicep tear, had a cage match with Batista, won the match, and then Mark Henry, I think, came out and beat up Undertaker, and then Edge came out, cashed in, and it was great. So Edge, without winning the briefcase, officially in the ladder match, won it, from the original winner, cashed it in, ultimate opportunist, great stuff, and it set up the Edge-Undertaker feud that would be happening about a number of months later. And then we get to number 8, CM Punk, 2008. I mean, he cashed in on Edge after Batista had, lost to Edge, and then Batista came out and just laid out Edge, and Edge is like, I'm going to SmackDown, and then CM Punk comes out after Batista had just laid out Edge, cashed in, and he kept the title on Raw. That was pretty goddamn cool. That was really, really good stuff. I was shocked by CM Punk cashing in, because I go, the music, fuck the briefcase. He ran down, cashed in, great stuff. And it helped launch Punk into the mid-card as the world champion. Yeah, that wasn't a very good way to use him. But whatever. Then we get to number 7, The Miz, 2010. Randy Orton beat Wade Barrett again. Wade Barrett was effectively killed off right there after he was buried under chairs by John Cena a month later. Hooray! But before that, Orton beats Barrett. He's selling an injury. Miz comes down, cashes in. Bit of a match and everything. Skull Crushing finale, 1, 2, 3. Miz wins the WWE title. And I alluded to it in my previous list, the ranking list, ladder match one. I'm going to do an unpopular wrestling opinion at some point about Miz's WWE title reign. I'm going to do it because I think it needs to be said. And that's gonna be something that I'll end up doing. Probably sometime in June. They got a whole lot of videos lined up. But anyway. I like Mrs. Cash and I like his WWE title reign, but I'll get into more details and everything a little bit later in another video. But what beats that? Number 6, Daniel Bryan, 2011. They teased the cash in by having him cash in on Mark Henry about a month before, but Mark Henry wasn't medically cleared, so Daniel Bryan couldn't have the title. But then he cashed in on Big Show after a chairs match and everything, and Big Show was selling his hand and everything, but had beaten Mark Henry. And then Mark Henry laid Big Show out. Daniel Bryan came down, covered Big Show, 1, 2, 3. He won the world title, is shouting to Michael Cole's face. Should have smashed him in the goddamn face with it. I'm sorry. I know that Michael Cole is just, this big old, he's just this one guy that's just playing a heel and everything. And yes, he turned babyface with the whole thing with Lawler's heart attack or cardiac arrest, and thankfully Lawler's okay. And, you could tell how much it meant to Michael Cole, and that was months later. But at this time, Michael Cole, just as a heel, was goddamn insufferable. And he was. He was. And it was like, to me, I'd almost rather have heel Cole than Corey Graves now currently. But that aside, Daniel Bryan's cash-in was very goddamn fun. He, he finally, and he really quickly became, instead of a babyface, he became this smarmy, cocky heel and everything, where he was doing stuff just to annoy the fans, but the fans weren't having it. He was their guy, and they weren't going to let him get away with trying to get him booed. They weren't going to boo him. They were going to fucking cheer him. And boy, did they. So then we go to number 5, CM Punk 2009. I loved it because Jeff Hardy had just won the title from Edge in the ladder match. And I did a video about Edge and, the Edge, or not the Edge one, but CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy feud. Link up here or at the end of the video. I really enjoyed that one. This actually, started the feud, and I loved it because Jim Ross was about to cut an interview with Jeff Hardy. CM Punk comes down, cashes in on Jeff. And just the look he gave after Jeff Hardy kicked out of the first go to sleep, and Punk's just like, it just, I can't duplicate the look, but it was just like so eye opening. Like, it was like, ooh, we get to see heel Punk again. We got to see him in Ring of Honor. We get to see him now. And that's where we got to see heel Punk, and it was great. He beat Jeff Hardy, won the world title, and they had a great feud after that. They got cut short because Jeff Hardy left. Then got busted with a whole bunch of drugs in his goddamn house because he was an idiot at the time, but that's okay. He cleaned up his life now. Number 4, Dean Ambrose 2016. Roman Reigns entered the match as champion against Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins beat Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns got suspended for violating the wellness policy for 30 days. And Seth Rollins was the champion. Dean Ambrose, who had won the briefcase earlier in the night, came out and cashed in on Seth Rollins by hitting him from behind. Right from behind, hitting him with the briefcase, cashing it in. So each Shield member got to hold the WWE title on the same night. Sure, Dean Ambrose's title reign didn't end up turning out all that goddamn well, but that cash-in was fucking great. The 3 were better. Number 3, Dolph Ziggler 2013. I almost ranked this number 2, but I couldn't. Even though the pop was thunderous, they wanted him to cash in at Mania, so he actually would have eclipsed Rollins by 2 years. But I think it's better, that they waited until Raw. That freaking reaction, not just in an open-air stadium, but just there, so loud, they wanted him to win. He finally won after it looked like Del Rio might beat Ziggler, might actually, cause him to tap out. Nope. Ziggler just wrenched at the leg, wrenched at the ankle, and got him. 1, 2, 3. Oh my God. Dolph Ziggler's finally the world champion. And then he got injured, and then he lost in his first defense. But that cash-in will live forever. That was absolutely insane, and probably the biggest pop, one of the biggest pops Ziggler ever got. Maybe the biggest pop of his career. No Mercy 2016 might come close, as far as people just wanting to see something happen. Something good happen for Ziggler. But I gotta say, this might eclipse it. Might be the biggest pop of his career. One of the biggest pops of all time. And then we go to number 2, Edge, who won in 2005 and cashed it in at the beginning of 2006. After Cena had successfully defended the title in an Elimination Chamber at New Year's Revolution. Remember that pay-per-view? I'm sorry if you do. He had successfully defended against a whole bunch of guys. Last beating Carlito and Chris Masters and stuff like that. I think Chris Masters, then Carlito. But then, Vince McMahon's like, raise the cage. So the cage gets raised. Cena's laid out and everything, just all beat up. Oh, this man's cashing in his Money in the Bank contract, and it was all cool. Edge hands a briefcase to Cena. And after a bit, even after a kick out from Cena, 1, 2, 3, Edge is the new WWE champion, finally validating all those heelish tactics and banging Matt Hardy's ex and all the shit that he was doing. Yeah, that was really goddamn good. Edge's cash-in was great. But number 1, Seth Rollins. It was the heist of the century. And that's really what it was called. I still get goosebumps just thinking about, Brock lays out Roman and everything with an F5.
And I think it was Cole that said, "Who can capitalize?" And I remember just I hear the music, and my eyes just freaking like, my eyes just they got bigger than this. And the crowd, once they realized, they were just like absolutely electric. Thanks, Chris. I now hear other music in my head whenever I hear It's Electric. But anyway, he runs down there, becomes a triple threat. It looks like Rollins might unsuccessfully cash in, but then Roman spears Brock. Rollins lays him out with a curb stomp, and you can actually hear the audio enhanced where Rollins is saying to Reigns, "Thank you so much," because Reigns Vince wanted to make sure that Reigns signed off on the fact that Reigns was going to be anointed right there. But he decided, well, hey, wait a second, let's do this instead. So they were going to hold off on Reigns being the champion. And Rollins got a really good run with the title, even though some of the ways that Reign was booked wasn't all that great. It actually worked out pretty damn well. And that cash-in will live forever. If Rollins doesn't ever hit those kind of heights again, that cash-in is going to be one of the big highlights of his career and is something that he can hang his hat on. And for the Hall of Fame, is something that can definitely be referenced to. It is the greatest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time, my opinion, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin, and I'll see you Sunday for Money in the Bank.